Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givaradari Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Rukmini Dwarkadish Rukmini Dwarkadish Rukmini Dwarkadish Rukmini Dwarkadish Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Jayom Vishnupad, Paramahansa Padavrajak Acharya, Astar Satashi Shivat, ISKCON BBT Founder, Acharyas of Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pavishta Om Vishnupad, Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sakhosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Brajabhumi Namadam Ki Jai. Shri Nabari Maya Bhottam Ki Jai. Shri Lachal Jagannath Puridam Ki Jai. Ganga Mayin Ki Jai. Jamuna Mayin Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Most beautiful worship Shri Shukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai. Shri Shukmini Dwarkanath Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Samabeta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai. ISKCON Los Angeles Yatra Ki Jai. Brihan Badanga Transcendental Book Distribution Kijai, International Food for Life, Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Kijai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Kijai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, glory to the Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamatirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our bare means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So, there's a lot to say today, so I'm going to just jump right into it, because today's also Vyas Purnima, and it's the disappearance of Sanatan Goswami. Is it appearance or disappearance? Disappearance of Sanatan Goswami. So we have a lot to cover. So we're continuing reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the third canto, chapter 25, text number 10. Yes. Atha deva sammoham apākraṣṭuṁ tvam arhasi vagraho mametīty etasmin yojitas tvayā. Atha deva sammoham apākraṣṭuṁ tvam arhasi vagraho mametīty etasmin yojitas tvayā. Atha deva sammoham apākraṣṭuṁ tvam arhasi vagraho mametīty etasmin yojitas tvayā. Please chant. Prajendra? Prajendra? Deva sammoham apākraṣṭuṁ tvam arhasi vagraho mametīty etasmin yojitas tvayā. Vaishnavis? Deva sammoham apākraṣṭuṁ tvam arhasi, vagraho mametīty, etasmin yojitas tvayā. Synonyms: atha, now, me, my, deva, O Lord, sammoham, delusion, apākraṣṭuṁ, to dispel, tvam, you, arhasi, be pleased, yaha, which, avagrahaḥ, misconception, aham, I, mama, mine, iti, thus, iti, thus, etasmin, in this, yojitaḥ, engage, tvayā, by you. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your māyā and have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. Please repeat. Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your māyā and have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The false ego of identifying one's body as oneself and of claiming things possessed in relationship with this body is called māyā. In Bhagavad-gītā, 15th chapter, the Lord says, I am sitting in everyone's heart, and for me come everyone's remembrance and forgetfulness. Devahūti has stated that false identification of the body with the self and attachment for possessions in relation to the body are also under the direction of the Lord. Does this mean that the Lord discriminates by engaging one in his devotional service and another in sense gratification? If that were true, it would be an incongruity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but that is not the actual fact. As soon as the living entity forgets his real constitutional position of eternal servitorship to the Lord and wants instead to enjoy himself by sense gratification, he is captured by māyā. This capture by māyā is the consciousness of false identification with the body and attachment for the possessions of the body. These are the activities of māyā, and since māyā is also an agent of the Lord, it is indirectly the action of the Lord. The Lord is merciful. If anyone wants to forget him and enjoy this material world, he gives him full facility, not directly, but through the agency of his material potency. Therefore, since the material potency is the Lord's energy, indirectly it is the Lord who gives the facility to forget him. Devahūti therefore said, quote, my engagement in sense gratification was also due to you. Now kindly get me free from this entanglement, end of quote. By the grace of the Lord, one is allowed to enjoy this material world, but when one is disgusted with material enjoyment and is frustrated, and when one sincerely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, then the Lord is so kind that he frees one from entanglement. Krishna says, therefore, in Bhagavad-gītā, quote, first of all surrender, and then I will take charge of you and free you from all reactions of sinful activities, end of quote. Sinful activities are those activities performed in forgetfulness of our relationship with the Lord. In this material world, activities for material enjoyment, which are considered to be pious, are also sinful. For example, one sometimes gives something in charity to a needy person with a view to getting back the money 4 times increased. Giving with the purpose of gaining something is called charity in the mode of passion. Everything done here is done in the modes of material nature, and therefore all activities but service to the Lord are sinful. Because of sinful activities, we become attracted by the illusion of material attachment, and we think, quote, I am this body, end of quote. I think of the body as myself and of bodily possessions as mine. Devahūti requested Lord Kapila to free her from that entanglement of false identification and false possession. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshtarane. Om Agyana Timarannasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Stapitang Jaina Bhutale. Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Tapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishavangsha. Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Ragana Tanvatam Tang Sajivam. Sadvaitam Savadutam Purjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitangsha. Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate. Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate. Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari. Vishamanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vansha Kalpatarubhya Shah Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now we're approaching the final stage, but it's going to be a very long presentation, of the marriage of Devahūti and Kardama. Very famous couple in the Srimad Bhagavatam. My dear brother, God brother Niranta Prabhu is very famous for saying that the brahmacharis, when they want to get married, they're looking for Devahūti. And the Matajis, when they get married, they want a Kardama. But lo and behold, instead, it's a joke, don't take it seriously. Instead of getting Devahūti, they get Putana. And instead of getting Kardama, they get Kamsa. So it's a joke, but there's some truth in there. That's why it's funny. Everybody wants happy life in this material world, as Prabhupada so nicely presented here. But it's an illusion. There's no happiness here. And this illusion begins with the false identification of the body with the self. And therefore, we will speak a little bit about Sanatana Goswami at the end, but he's famous, even though he was a great scholar, very, very highly placed government servant, wealthy, still, when he approached Lord Chaitanya, he asked, Kayami, who am I? Because if you don't know who you are, then everything else that you're presenting is just, why should anybody take seriously? Like if you approach somebody in the street and you ask him, who are you? And he says, I am Jesus Christ, bow down before me. You're just going to laugh and walk away. You know, so if you don't know who you are, then anything that you present is not believable. First of all, you should know who you are. And this is a problem with modern science. To this day, people have, even if you take their estimation of human antiquity, going back only about 300,000 years, which doesn't fit the Vedic paradigm. The Vedic paradigm is the first created being in this universe is human-like. Not exactly a human being. Lord Brahma's got 4 heads, 4 arms. Not exactly your typical human being, but at least human-like. So from the very beginning of the universe, there's human-like person. But they're saying, but even if you say only human antiquity only goes back 300,000 years, since time immemorial, human beings are giving birth to human beings, and they're still debating. They don't know how birth actually happens. So if you don't know, if you're the product of your combination of your parents, and you can't explain the process, then why should we listen to anything that you have to say? They're still debating. They don't know when life begins. We know life never begins. Life is eternal. Eternal means always existed in the past, existing now, and will continue to exist in the future. That's what eternal means. So these glasses are not eternal. They didn't exist a few years ago, for sure. And they will not be around very long. I've broken so many of them already. So this is not an eternal object. So if something is not eternal, it cannot become eternal. You cannot, some religious paths, they say, you follow our path and you will get eternal life. No, I'm already eternal. You can't get eternal life. You can be liberated from the material entanglement that's being discussed in today's purport. Devahūti knows, or at least she's presenting herself as being materially entangled. And therefore she wants a way out. So similarly, Sanatana Goswami, when he approached Lord Chaitanya, Kayami, who am I? Why am I suffering these threefold miseries? So since time immemorial, human beings are giving birth to human beings and they still don't understand the process, exactly what happens. Man and woman unite, and lo and behold, 9-10 months later, a child comes out. They don't know exactly what's going on. Well, this will be clearly explained by Lord Kapila Deva in this section. Karmana daivanaitrena, jantur dehopati, striya pabishta udara, pungsa reta kanashaya. Very simple, one verse explains the process. Based on your activities, and we know we're active, we're always active, even when sleeping, we're active. We're thinking of this person, that situation, always active. You cannot be, only when you go under like general anesthesia, you're not conscious of what's going on. I've had that. My first hernia operation, I've had 3 of them. UCLA Harbor. And it was a training operation, so there were a whole bunch of students. They put me on the gurney and a whole bunch of students were around and the teacher was explaining what's going to happen. Then came the anesthesia and then I was out. They cut the body, don't feel anything. But generally speaking, unless again, this is that state of non-consciousness, this is called susupti. There's the waking consciousness, the sleeping consciousness, and then the total unconsciousness. That's called susupti. So the living entities are undergoing these 3 stages of consciousness. And Lord Kapila Deva explains that based on your activities, karmana, and supervision of deva, higher authorities, culminating with the Lord himself, jantur dehopati, your parents are selected for you. I've said this many times because it's true. Of my generation, we used to baffle our parents whenever they would say, you're doing this wrong. And they say, leave me alone. I didn't ask to be born, did I? And then they scratch their heads. Yeah, you're right. You were in a Saturday night accident or something like that, So yeah, the parents don't know. They don't know what's going on. But Lord Kapila completely explains. Because of your activities and the reactions to those activities, a particular set of parents are chosen for you. And how does the process work? Striya pabishta udara. The living entity is placed into the womb of a particular mother by the agency. But the living entity is in that small particle of semen, and that semen is injected into the womb of the mother. The egg and the sperm come together, a little pea-like form is there. In all cases, it starts like a little pea-like form, but the ultimate form of that, what it actually turns out to look like, depends on the mother. So if it's a dog mother, then the living entity finally comes out as a little puppy. If it's a human being, comes out as a baby, like we have Prajendra visiting here with his child Sasha. So this is a science. It's not speculation. It's not speculation. And if you say it's speculation and prove that it is, they can't. We know the Vedic knowledge has been coming down since time immemorial. It was originally an oral tradition, passed on from guru to disciple, who becomes guru, disciple like that. And then, starting 5,000 years ago, Veda Vyas, who's we're celebrating today's Vyas Purnima, he had it codified. He had the Vedic knowledge written down. So now we have it in written form. So from not our perspective, from the Vedic presentation, this knowledge has been existing in writing at least 5,000 years. Now some of the modern scholars, they say, no, the Vedas are only about 1,500 years. But even so, you look at a book that was written 1,500 years ago that completely explains everything. The universe, how the universe is situated, birth, death, everything is explained there. You show one other book from 1,500 years ago that explains all of this so clearly. So they don't have any reason to reject the Vedic knowledge. They just are dog obstinate, as Prabhupada would say. Dog obstinacy. If you're looking for something and I say, I know where it is, you should at least see if I'm right or not, right? If you lost your car and I say, I saw it on Overland and Venice, you should at least go there and see if it's there. But they're so obstinate, if they're predisposed to oppose God, that when you present God as the ultimate source of everything, the ultimate cause of everything, Ishvara Parama Krishna, right? Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam is the ultimate cause of all causes. They don't immediately reject. No. So we don't follow such dog obstinate fellows. We follow the Vedic literature. So today is Vyas Purnima, and Vyasadeva again, he had all this knowledge codified. His guru, who was his guru? Narada. So he got the knowledge from Narada. Who did Narada get it from? Brahma, Lord Brahma. And who did Brahma get it from? Krishna. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muyanti Yaksurya. From within the heart, everything was revealed to Brahma, and then he passed it on to Narada and his other sons. Narada passed on to the Vyas. So we're coming in this Brahma, Narada, Vyas, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. We're getting the same knowledge. We don't have to speculate. Simply have to accept what's there. So Devahūti is setting the standard here. She's asking the right questions, just like Sanatana Goswami asked from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. She's asking the right questions, explaining what her conundrum is. Sanatana Goswami said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my problem is the threefold miseries. And we see that as a fact. No matter how much money you have, no matter what position you have, no matter what tribe you came from, it doesn't matter. All the material qualifications don't prevent you from being exposed to and subject to the threefold miseries of life, which are, 1, miseries caused by your own body and mind. Who can deny that? Who can deny that? Your body gives trouble. The body is actually meant for misery, Prabhupada said. We are thinking it's a pleasure vehicle, but it's actually meant for misery. Your misery will be delivered to you through the agency of this body. And the mind. Sometimes you're so disturbed, something as subtle as a look, literally, people go to freak out. Why did that person look at me like that? All day long they're thinking like that. The person didn't say a word, didn't touch you, nothing. But just the way they looked at you, all day long you're wondering, why did he look at me like that? So we get so disturbed, even over subtle things. What to speak of when something gross happens. So body and mind give everybody trouble. The example I like to use, I grew up in New York, and there was, if you know, everybody knows in the middle of Manhattan there's Central Park. So on the west side of Central Park there's some very famous buildings, at least back in the day. Now they've been superseded by these taller skyscrapers. But one of them was called the Dakota. Only extremely wealthy people lived in the Dakota. So there was one wealthy family there. They had one daughter. Parents died, left her millions and millions of dollars. And she had a habit every day. She would come down from the apartment, walk through Central Park, and go back home. So one day she did that, came down, went to Central Park, took her walk, went home, jumped out the window. Suicide. That means in spite of her millions of dollars, in spite of her societal position, the mind was so disturbed. So nobody's free from that. It's not that you're going to earn enough money so that you can avoid the threefold miseries. It doesn't work. And like I said, right here in LA, no matter how much money you have, no matter how much money your car costs, if you're driving on the 405, you're going to get stuck like everybody else. And therefore they want to invent flying cars. But there will be a flying car congestion in someday. You can't turn left or right in your flying car, you'll crash into some other car. So we can't avoid the threefold miseries by material means. There's no material solution to material problems. Eventually only spiritual solutions to all problems. And then misery is caused by other living entities. We can't avoid that. Everybody suffers because, again, even just another human being looking at you can cause you disturbance all day. What to speak of when they actually attack. I was just reading a statistics recently that the number of bear attacks are increasing. And it's not hard to figure out because we destroy their environment, we destroy their natural food like deer and other animals. So naturally, when they see a human being is a pretty easy target for a bear. So in the past, bears were more or less wary of humans and they would avoid them and attack some other animal, some deer or something. But now, again, because we've destroyed their habitat, we're destroying their natural food, And when they come across a human being, you're hiking through the mountains somewhere and a bear comes out. Hey, sharira bejajal. Easy snack. So misery is caused by other living entities. And it's not that if you're a rich person, then the bear won't attack you. No. One of the famous naturalists in recent history, this guy named Steve Irwin from Australia, famous for presenting on TV so many different kinds of animals and interacting with crocodiles and this and that. And he was killed in the ocean by a stingray. He picked up this ray and brought it too close. And you know, the stingrays, they have this long barb at the base of their tail. And the barb went through his chest and into his heart. So misery is caused by other living entities. You can't avoid it. He was famous and wealthy from his TV shows and all that, but died like that. And then misery is caused by the demigods in charge of different aspects of material creation. Excessive heat, like now we're going through a heat wave here in LA. Mid-80s we call a heat wave. But there are some people right here in California, they live in certain sections where the temperature gets to be 110 degrees. Death Valley, places like that. And there are some portions of India where in the summertime the temperature gets to be 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So excessive heat, excessive cold. But all of this is going on under the control of the Supreme Lord. Later on in this section, Kapila Deva will explain, nice verse. Madbayat bhativatoyam surya stapati madbayat. Varshatendra deyasyagnir mrityustarti madbayat. He explains that the demigods, they're doing all their business out of fear of him. Madbayat bhativatoyam. Because of fear of me, the wind blows. Surya stapati madbayat. Out of fear of me, the sun is giving its energy. Varshatendra, out of fear of me, Indra is sending the rains. Dayasyagnir, the fire god is sending fire. And ultimately, Mrityus Charati Madbayat. Out of fear of me, death is taking its toll. So, yes, we cannot avoid the threefold miseries. So Devahūti is setting the right example. She's approaching her son. He's her son, but she still says, my Lord. Considers him to be her Lord because he is the Lord. He's an incarnation of Krishna. And therefore, he's the perfect source of perfect knowledge. And she's asking the right questions, and he will give her the right answers. As I've already touched on a few of the things that he said. So we should pay extreme attention in this section. This section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this third canto, these chapters of Kapila Muni's presentation, Kapila Dev's presentation, is so important to really try to understand the knowledge that is being presented here. And then, of course, we said it's Vyasa Purnima. So Vyasadeva is celebrated as the compiler of the Vedic knowledge. Again, it's coming down. And since time immemorial, before Vyasadeva appeared, the knowledge was there. Lord Prabhupada passed on to Narada. Narada is instrumental in educating Vyasadeva. Not that he needed education, but to set the example that we shouldn't present ourselves as being self-educated. Nowadays, it's very fashionable. Somebody goes on Google, they look up a few things, they buy a few books, and now I'm self-taught. How did you become, I'm self-educated? No, you got knowledge from somebody. You should always acknowledge that. We're getting knowledge from Srila Prabhupada, so we have to acknowledge that. None of us are self-taught. I'm so brilliant that all of this is just coming out of my brain. No, it's coming through Srila Prabhupada, who's coming in that line from Vyasadeva. So there's that verse, Anarto pasamam sakshat bhakti yoga adokshite. Lokasya jnanata vidvam chakre sattva sangisam. So why is Vyasadeva presenting this knowledge? And why is he celebrating? Because anarta upasamam sakshat. Artha means benefit. Anartha, the material miseries of the living entity, it's stated, are superfluous. They're not really innate in our character. Why do we strive for perfection? Because we're from the perfect world. We're from the perfect realm. But while we're in the conditioned state, we're not perfect. We have to admit that. We always want others to be perfect. We're not so concerned about bringing ourselves to perfection. If somebody does anything imperfectly, we immediately note it and we want to tell them how to do it right. But when it comes to our own existence, we're not so eager to perfect our existence. So the Vedic presentation, Lokasya Janata Vidvam, Chakra Sattva Sangitam. Srila Vyasa was presenting this Vedic knowledge to bring us to that perfect stage. Bring us to the perfection. Bring us back to the perfectional stage. Again, it's not something superfluous. We are perfectly manifest individual parts and parcels of Krishna. And we just have to remove the contamination, remove the covering to be again perfect. But when we're conditioned, we're not perfect. So in terms of marriage, like Devahūti came from practically a perfect family. Her father, Swayambhuva Manu, and the wife, Shatarupa, practically perfect beings. But she wasn't so puffed up that she said, now find me just a perfect husband. She was willing to take whatever the parents arranged, having faith in them. And also she was attracted to him. So again, we shouldn't think that I'm going to find Devahūti or I'm going to find Kardama, except from what's available. Again, because we are by nature perfect, we come from the perfect realm, we want a perfect partner. Woman wants to get married, she's looking for the perfect husband. A husband is looking for the perfect wife. But you're not perfect, so why do you think you deserve a perfect person? Why? We're like that. I'm not perfect, but I think I deserve a perfect partner. Perfect in every way. It doesn't work like that. So the natural tendency is to get married. It's just a natural flow. First student life, then grihastha life, then vanaprastha, then sannyas. It's a natural flow. And the majority will go through that flow from student life to married life. But it has to be done with realistic expectations. In Kali Yuga, people are unrealistic. The mass of people are, to put it mildly, not so highly educated. But they want a perfect leader. And then when they get an imperfect leader, then they freak out. So Prabhupada said, even if you were to place a perfect leader, a perfect devotee today, people wouldn't appreciate. And therefore he took the approach of mass education. Go out there and educate them individually, collectively, in what is the goal of life and how to achieve it. This is the goal of distributing books. Recently, our Rameshwar Prabhu contacted us and asked, why didn't we put it's the 50th, because it's our 48th anniversary of Rath Yatra, which was the first one was in 77. And that book marathon, 17 volumes in 2 months that I took part in, was 2 years before that. It was in 75. So this is the 50th anniversary of that marathon. So Rameshwar was asking, why didn't we put that in the BBT newsletter? So I told him, I said, you're the perfect person to write a book about that. Because he was he was the chief person at the time at the BBT. And on that morning walk, famous, when Prabhupada said he wanted the books, he told Prabhupada, we were doing about 1 volume a month. So he told Prabhupada, we can double that. We can make 2 volumes a month. Prabhupada said, no, I want 17 volumes in 2 months. And that's when he said, Prabhupada, that's impossible. And everybody knows Prabhupada's reply, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. So, Shyam, can you show those pictures? I just wanted to, if Rameshwar is watching, so I participated in that marathon. And yeah, so the first one, it says Pics for Today is the folder. Yeah, Pics for Today, yeah. And then just the first one first, yeah, okay. So this is taken from Madhabar and Vishaka's movie, Brilliant as the Sun. And that was my service at the time, was to drive that, what's called a mini computer, size of a refrigerator, because I learned how to program mainframe computers, which are the size of this room or bigger. So the next generation were mini computers, the size of a refrigerator in the back there. So I used to program that to drive the next machine next to it, which is a typesetting machine. So had a big roll of photosensitive paper, and then after it was exposed, it was processed through a chemical bath, so it would come out backwards. Whatever went in last came out first. So I would spend a portion of my day reading these books backwards. In other words, when a chapter would come out, I would be reading the last verse and then back up like that. So that was the famous marathon. It took place in the building. Now the BBT building is this building on the corner, but previously it was the one around the corner where that Dr. Buddha is now. We sold that building to him. So that was the BBT building. And on the Prabhupada's firm demand, we were lucky to do that. We came out with 17 volumes in 2 months. So the next picture. Sham, next picture. Yeah, if you use the space bar, it'll show the picture and then you just use the down arrow to get to the next one. Anyway, so this is from the same era, 75. And I always tell this story, you can see me there. That Prabhupada used to give these cookies every day from this Vyasa-san to the children. And the older devotees like myself will be looking on enviously. Because Prabhupada wouldn't give the cookies to the older devotees, he gave them to the children. If you were lucky, you could get a crumb at the end, but so. And then the next picture. Yeah, so that's another one from the same sequence. So I wanted to say quite a bit about Sanatana Goswami, but anyway, time is gone. So we should always be thankful, Srila Prabhupada, for pushing us. We, as conditioned souls, we don't like to be pushed. But generally speaking, we don't achieve anything worthwhile in life if we're not pushed. So we have to being a disciple means voluntarily surrendering yourself to be disciplined by the spiritual master. Prabhupada said that once. He said, there's no question of disciple without discipline. And without discipline, we cannot run an international society. So those who are members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness right here in Los Angeles, you have to be in that mood. That, yes, sometimes I will have to be pushed, sometimes I have to be disciplined, but what is the purpose behind that discipline? What is the purpose behind being pushed? So that I can come back to the perfectional stage. It's not that Subhas pushes the brahmacharis or the matajis to do the service so that he can become wealthier. He's been a devotee for 50-something years. He doesn't have a huge bank account in Switzerland or anything like that. We're not motivated by that. That's not why we joined. I studied civil engineering. I didn't join ISKCON to become rich. I could have followed the engineering path. My parents wanted me to do that. They were very disappointed when I became a full-time devotee. So we didn't come to Prabhupada's lotus feet to make money. That wasn't the motivation. And it's not the International Society for Commerce. It's the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Now, Krishna, being pleased, will send money. And then our responsibility is to spend it properly. So it's not that some people think that if you're actually spiritual, then you should be poor. An actual spiritual person should be poverty-stricken, should take a vow of poverty. But that's not the devotional path. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, and coming up, starting Monday, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we're going to kick off with Bhrigu, Pati Prabhu, and then I have to select a topic for each day. But if you read CC, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disciples, they ran the gamut in terms of wealth. From Kolavet Sridhar, who could barely put together a few paisa every day from selling banana products, but he gave 50% for worship of the Ganges. And all the way up to King Prataparuja, who was a king. It's not that after he became a devotee that he gave away all his wealth. No, he remained a king. And he used that wealth. When the devotees would come from Bengal to Puri, he used that wealth to accommodate them nicely and feed them nicely. So wherever you are on the spectrum, you don't have to stop. Stane sita. Stay in your position and just hear about Krishna and pass on that knowledge to others. So we'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.